welcome to the second Fulbright Forum of the 2009-2010 program year. Our presenter this evening is Fulbright Senior Scholar Dr. Soojin Kim Ritterling, and the topic is Korean traditional percussion music performances in contemporary Korean society. And I'll just mention, I think most of you know, but we'll follow the usual format this evening, the presentation and an opportunity for some Q&A, following which there'll be a reception down on the third floor administrative offices. Dr. Ritterling is an associate professor of music education at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. She earned her Bachelor of Music degree and Master of Music degree in Music Education from the Korea National University of Education, and her PhD in Music Education from the University of Southern Mississippi. And I'll let her do further introductions of the performing group that's involved this evening. Dr. Ritterling.
Thank you very much. I'm an associate professor for music education at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. I also direct Korean percussion ensembles on campus. At the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, we have 3 Korean percussion ensembles. First group is a Samulnori group, and anyone could attend. Anyone could earn a credit by learning these Korean percussion instruments. And second group is for more advanced students. They use different size drums called the modern book. Modern book is kind of a newer addition to the Korean percussion instrument family. And third group is consisting of purely women faculty members. After students' performances, and then faculty members were interested in learning how to play these instruments. And so all 3 groups are performing together whenever there's an event, and it's a very neat experience. As the director of Korean percussion ensembles at UWL, I utilize the Korean percussion instruments as tool for igniting the desire to learn music, in hopes that this desire continues to encourage the study and support of music in general. And I'm a general music specialist. My research area is in developing effective and accessible music teaching materials. My ultimate goal for this research is to write an instructional manual that can be used in multicultural music education fields in the United States. I'm a contributing author for Korean music units in the Spotlight on Music textbook series by Macmillan and McGraw-Hill, and a recent Music Educators National Conference's publication called The Kaleidoscope of Cultures. My affiliation is Dulsory Arts and Culture, which is founded in 1984. It's a performing art group, and the Dulsory seeks to preserve and promote the Korean traditional art forms in a contemporary context. My target audience for this research project is current and future music teachers in the United States. My objective for my research project is to research repertoire of percussion music performances at the National Center for Korean Traditional Performing Arts. And I was really surprised by the small number of Korean percussion music performances held at the National Center for Korean Traditional Performing Arts, because it is due to the fact that NCKTPA, as a government facility, they try to provide a wide variety of music, not only percussion music genre, but also court music, professional vocal and instrumental music, and folk music, as well as religious music. And they have a creative music troupe also, so they present newer creative genre into the audience. And my second objective was to continue the explanation of the Samulnori and modern book genres. Since I've been here last August, I took several drumming classes, and those music will be transcribed into Western form, and it will be inserted into the instructional manual. Identity of Korean people. Historical culture permeates modern society to the extent that modern Korean society is defined by its past. visitors to Korea cannot but notice the heritage of Korea in nearly all walks of life. When you look around the buildings, you will see Korean architecture forming the different restaurants or different buildings. And of course, in the downtown Seoul, there are many, many well-preserved palaces. And especially during the holiday seasons, you'll notice that people wear the traditional clothes called hanbok. And the food in Korea, it's well preserved in traditional way. So whenever we come to Korea, we don't want to eat but Korean food. And the Korean percussion music performances are probably one of the prominent examples of cultural heritage loved by Koreans as well as by foreigners. The earliest written record of the agrarian celebrations and rituals in Korean Peninsula can be found in Samgukji, the records of three kingdoms by the Chinese historian Jinsu, written in the 3rd century. These records prove that several religious festivals were connected with agriculture in the tribal leagues of Buyeo, Goguryeo, Ye, and Samhan, more specifically called the Jecheon Ushik. The most two important came in May, before sowing began, and in October after the harvest, to pray for a rich harvest and to express gratitude for a year of plenty. The people sang and danced and drank heartily. Many Korean scholars consider these religious festivals as origin of the current forms of theater, dance, and music performance areas. God of heaven, called Cheonshin, was the object of worship in ancient Korean rituals. The Jecheon Ushik was ancient rites and festivals. When the political leader was the same religious leader, the Jecheon Ushik was performed by the religious leader. The example can be found in the second king of Shilla. The King Namhae was also called the Cha-Cha-Um. Cha-Cha-Um means a shaman or high chief in the Shilla language. Not only the king's name, but also during the Shilla period, the Hwarang was very famous. They were an elite group of youth, and they were also in the military function. But a lot of scholars wrote about Hwarang's function. And some interesting thing about Hwarang is that they were actually acting as shaman. And the shaman, it's a recent term, labeling them as shaman, but actually they perform some kind of rituals to the heaven to pray for a bountiful year and the peaceful life of the people in Shilla. As each nation in ancient times expanded its territory against others by force, the political power was separated from religious power. This separation of politics and religion caused the Jecheon Ushik evolved into three categories: village good, professional entertainment, and shamanistic rituals. And in this presentation, we'll be more focused on the village good and professional entertainment. And the shamanistic rituals, I'm still in the process of learning about it, and I didn't have much idea about what the shamanistic ritual was. And now I'm finding that they're all related with Korean percussion music and village good or any other musical performance genres. The good part was always related. The ritual cannot be missed. The village good. Traditionally, village percussion band was called nong-ak. The term nong-ak is two Sino-Korean word for agricultural music. It was accepted as an academic terminology for indicating music and dance performances by farmers until the 1980s. Since then, many Korean music scholars argued that the term nong-ak was coined as conformative by a Japanese scholar Oh Chung in his Joseon Yeonjung Hengsa, Annual Functions of Korea in 1931. Many scholars replaced the term nong-ak with Pungmul or Pungmul good. In current society, nong-ak, Pungmul, and Pungmul good are all considered by performers to indicate a style of performance designed for entertainment, seen on stage, at festivals, or on television. According to one scholar, Kim Woo-duk, he uses the term village good, since the village good, maul good, encompasses more comprehensive cultural aspects, as it had many different functions in the village. In this presentation, village good will be used to describe the Korean percussion music and dance performances held in villages in the past. The village good was an integral part of village life, wishing for peaceful life of every member of the village. Many different names by regions and functions. It depends on where it's from. It was called with different names: Noa, Pungmul, Pungjang, Golgung, Megu, or Jure. It also reflects the function of the music that was played. And it is consisting of village percussion members, and it was periodical performances in the context of villages, ritual, communal labor, and entertainment. First, we'll look into the ritual aspect of village good. It was ritual offering to the tutelary deities, praying for a bountiful year. Usually, it was held at the beginning of the year, village as a whole. Sometimes, pretty much every village had a sacred place, and they were called the sonang, or stone pile, or the dangsanmok, an extra tall tree, the megalith, and the mound. And still, when you go to countryside, you will see piles of stones. And a lot of times you will see the extra totally big, very old big trees. And in ancient time, people believed that the God comes down, descends to earth through those tall objects. So even those changsum, sometimes it's used as territory of each village, but also it was considered a sacred place. So a long time ago, people passed by and then just took a bow there and wishing for their health, or if they had any family problems, they wished for a better life later on. So those sacred places are still existed here and there. And another ritual aspect of village good was called the Ji-hyeon Bargi or Madang Barbi. Ji-hyeon Bargi is translated into stamping on God of earth, and Madang Barbi is translated to trading on the yard. Either Ji-hyeon Bargi or Madang Barbi was a door-to-door performance by village performers. Usually it was held during the Jeongwol Daevorum, which was the day of the first full moon by the lunar calendar. The purpose of the Ji-hyeon Bargi or Madang Barbi was blessing and expelling bad spirits. Also, it had fundraising functions for building communal bridge or buildings and also helping poor people. Later it became Gaolip or Gaebong, and those Gaolip means begging grains, and Gaebong means raising fund for, it was related to Buddhist temple. As the time goes by, during the Goryeo period, Buddhism was national religion, so the Buddhist monks and temples were kind of rich, and they maintained their facility without any help. But from Joseon dynasty, Confucianism became more important, and people not many people attended Buddhist temple, and financially they became very, very difficult. And the monks come down to the village along with some village performers to raise the fund to maintain the temples. And here are some examples of a village good, the ritual part, what it was done in the past. The photos were provided by the National Research Institute of Cultural Heritage. When you go to village side, you will see a big tall tree like that, and the people would offer little offerings to the tree, and they believed that the tutelary deities or guardian god, they come down through those trees. And village performers, they would play music around the tree. And this particular example is called the Dangsan-gun, and the tall tree is called the Dangsan-mok, which smoke is tree. And the village performers would go around the village, door to door, and if they have any communal well, they first stop by at the communal well, and the well is called the sam, so they would play the music called the sam-gun. And good, the Korean word good itself is literally means invocation, or sometimes people call it expelling the bad spirits, but it's really based on which context it's being used. When it's used along with the other entertainment part, and then it indicates entertainment music. When it comes with the ritual music, it becomes ritual music. So it has many different meaning based on the function. And after communal music performance, they go door to door, and it's a blessing and fundraising event. And before they enter any house, they stop at the gate and they play little music and chanting, saying that please open the door, we can come in and bless your household and give blessings to your family. And the owner of house, if they give permission, they ask them to come in and play their music. So the music performed around the gate is called the Sumunjangut or Mungut. And these performers go around the corner to corner in the house, and one place they stop is at platform for cracks or sauces. And people say that each little area there is a kind of guardian god existing, so they perform their ritual music there, and it's called the Kalju. And of course, kitchen is very important place, so give a little blessing at the kitchen, and it is called the Chowanggut. And these are just examples of how the village performers did the door-to-door performance. And a long time ago, people believed that the beam itself is an important structure of a house. So actually, those performers actually go onto the kind of living room area or guest receiving area called the maru, where the beam is. And they play music there too. And typically, the household, they would prepare some kind of food to offer the god in the beam. And if people have any animals in their household, they will play music at the stable as well. And a long time ago, of course, the bathroom was outside, and then they play little music at the house as well. And at the end, they play music in the courtyard. It's called the Madangut. And in the courtyard, they pretty much walk around the room, walk around the yard. So stamping on the earth and actually kind of stamp the god of earth. And they believe that by stamping on the ground, they're putting down the bad spirits, and then the house will be blessed. And then they off to the next house. And as you can see, both photos carry around the flags. The flag is very important. And before they go out the door-to-door performance, they stop by at the Sonan place where the tutelary dairy comes down, and they believe that the god comes down to their flag. Actually, they enshrine the god in that flag and carry it around. So gives blessing to the people and the village. And next component is called Duregut. Duregut is communal labor music. And of course, before they go out to the field to play work in the field, they stop by at where the tutelary deity is and give a little ritual offering, and then they go out to work in the field. And a long time ago, there was a kind of a system of collective communal labor was called Dure. Dure existed, and it is a system of collective communal labor. It's a collective farming and unity of rural communities. And the music performed along with the Dure, that was called the Duregut. So basically, it is communal labor music. The purpose of Duregut is to help farmers with their efficiency by easing the fatigue of hard working and to cultivate the spirit of cooperation and collective responsibility. And following slides will show you how it was done during the Duregut. And going to the rice field while playing music, so they go out to the rice field. And they ramp the flag into the ground because the god is enshrined there. And they put their unnecessary costume down. And they play, actually, before I actually received these photos, I thought that farmers actually playing on the rice field while some of them work in the field. It just didn't make sense to me. But after I received these photos, oh yeah, so most of them work, and one person might play a rhythm on the book, and based on their kind of how tired they are, the rhythm can go faster or slower to bring up their efficiency of working in the field. So one person would play the rhythm written on the book, and all the people would work in the field. And farmers, they start working really, really early in the morning, right? So at dawn, one person would play long brass instrument called nabal, and with one sound, people started gathering at the common meeting place, and they would gather together and go out to the field all together. So after 3 times they blow the nabal, they all go out. And that is actually that those playing the nabal 3 times is reflected in one of Samulnori repertoire, and there's a kind of chanting part. 1차, 2차, 다음 3차 끝에 행군하라시네, the 경수 part happening in the Ultari Pungmul at the very beginning. That how the Samulnori goes, and that actually reflects those novel sound. And when Samulnori started their repertoire using those elements, they moved into a chanting part and playing the drum part. But anyway, so. Farmers would go out into the field at dawn, and they all go together playing music, and then they work, and they take break like 3 or 4 times. Of course, wives and kids, they bring food to feed them, and sometimes early, like late 19th century or early 20th century, some Japanese scholars came to report about Korean farmers or other functions during the year, and they reported that I cannot understand. Korean farmers are really, really lazy. Well, they saw them during the break, and those scholars just slept in and went out after breakfast. And of course, Korean farmers already worked first shift and taking a break. But they really didn't know the actual function of farmers, how hard they worked. And toward the end of the wedding, farmers make a circle and finish up their work, and they go back home while playing music. And the dure was a kind of systematic communal labor. So they started with one field and then moved to the next field until they all finished their field work. And now this kind of dure good cannot be seen in the field anymore because of the invention of chemicals and machinery. And the chemicals took care of all the weeding part, and the machinery took care of all the communal labor unnecessary. So now everything is done by machines and the chemicals, so you really cannot see these in the field anymore. And these can be seen only by photos by former scholars in documentation form. Next component is Pungmul. It's an entertainment part. And the entertainment part, Pungmul, was usually performed during Baekjungnar is mid-July by the lunar calendar. That day is also known as Homishishina. Homishishi is after wedding, people wash their hose to keep it maintained in good shape. And usually the wedding is done 3 times. And village people gather at a wide open space in the village called the Pan. That's where the Pungmul comes from. And celebrate their hard work and wish for a good harvest to come. And also, Pungmul was performed at final night of a Ji-hyeon. And Ji-hyeon was the door-to-door performance giving blessing to the households. And the Ji-hyeon, during the Pungmul at the night of Ji-hyeon had ritual functions. And the village performers, were they going around door to door, they believed that any bad spirits could attach to their clothes. Cling to their clothes. So they tried to cleanse themselves by a jump over the fire. And that was done in the past. But now in current society, any entertainment performances on stage and festivals are called Pungmul. And it is also interchangeably used with Noa, Pungmul, or Pungmul. So as I mentioned earlier, Noa is 2 Sino-Korean words for agricultural music. And the Pungmul is also 2 Sino-Korean words for Pung is wind and the mul is an object. So a lot of scholars think that, well, Pungmul, that really doesn't explain much about the farmers' music and dance. And also, those music was performed in fishing area as well. And then, can you say that that's music performed by a farmer? So the kind of now scholars use Pungmul good. So Pungmul was good and try to kind of explain all those percussion music and dance. So here are the examples of Pungmul. And probably these are all not really actual Pungmul in the past time. It's a recreation for the preservation system. But at least you can see how it was done in the past. In 1962, Korean government initiated the cultural asset preservation law called Munhwa. And cultural asset number 11 includes 5 noak existed in Korea right now. And those 5 includes Jinju Samcheonpo Noak from South Gyeongsang-do area. And their style is known as Yeongnam Noak. It's kind of those 5 Korean scholars categorize Korean peninsula into 5 different categories based on their styles and instrumentation and their outfits and also the formation of how they play. So it's there are 5 different categories. Jinju Samcheonpo Noak is from Gyeongsang area and it's known for Yeongnam Noak. Pyeongtaek Noak is from Gyeonggi area, and Uttari Pungmul is known for their style. Iri Noak is from North Jeolla province for Honam Udo Noak, and the bottom part, Imshil Pilbung Noak, is from North Jeolla province also for Honam Jado Noak. And another category is Gangneung Noak from Gangwon-do, Yeongdong area Noak. And North Jeolla province is very rich in many ways in musical performance way. Not only the Noak, and actually 2 cultural asset is from North Jeolla province. And when you divide the area alongside the mountain, it can be kind of divided by right side, left side. Sorry, that was me. And so North Jeolla province is very rich in Korean cultural heritage. And a lot of famous pansori singers come from that area as well. Other successful preservation efforts include Samulnori. And Samulnori is a preservation and innovation of Noak, Pungmul good or village good. In 1978, 4 Korean percussionists gave a debut performance under the title of Minso Akeshinawi, and at Gonggan-sarang, the Space Theater, they rearranged Uttari Pungmul into a kind of seated version. So it is a totally concert version of Korean traditional Pungmul good. And then in 2 months later, Shibicha 36가라, which is actually Yeongnam Noak. And the second time when they introduced Samulnori seated concert version of Noak, their group name was given as Samulnori by the folk scholar Shin Woo-sung. Samulnori literally means 4 things playing together. I'll show you where it's from and which indicates what. But anyway, in September of 1980, the official Samulnori group, which became really famous, along with Kim Deok-soo, Kim Yong-baek, Lee Kwang-soo, and Choi Jong-sil began. And sometimes you will see Samulnori with capital letter N or small letter n. And when Kim Deok-soo group came, it was the only Samulnori group. And after 80s and 90s, it became very popular. And a lot of people studied about the seated version of Korean percussion music. And then it became a new genre. So when you indicate the new genre, you just simply use Samulnori with a small letter N. And when you indicate the original group and also the group with the Kim Deok-soo, currently the Hanulin performing our group, and then it's used a capital letter N. The original Samul is used in Buddhist temple, and the original Samul included Bomjong, Unpan, Mogo, and Bokgo. Bomjong is big bell that you've probably seen around in whenever you go to temples, and the Unpan is a metal plate with a clouded design on top. And Bomjong is, the Buddhist monk said that Bomjong is kind of guiding the beings in the hell. And Unpan is any guiding life or beings with wings. And Mogo, it's a wooden fish-shaped instrument, and the bottom side is actually hollow. And you can they play with the two sticks inside and playing it. And the moga is guiding life underwater, and popko is for the life in the land. So originally, Buddhists most used these four objects and they were called the Samul. And still, in current Buddhist temples, when they have ceremony, they play these instruments. And Samul in Samulnori include Jim, Dongari, Jangu, and Guk. And literally Samul means four things. So originally Samul was used in Buddhist temple, but in Samulnori ensemble, the folk scholars said, well, look, there are four different shapes of instruments. Let's put the Samul first, and then people are playing together. So Samulnori came from there. And Jing is made out of, it's a brass instrument. It's played by the the cloth-covered mallet. And it provides the first beat of each different rhythm patterns. And a lot of times, Samulnori people say that if Jing player loses pulse, and then all the ensemble will fall apart. And the Dongari is usually made out of a combination of copper and zinc. It's always played by the leader, and especially in the traditional no-knock, the Dongari player's role is very important, and the leader player is called the Sangsue, and it's just kind of conductor's role. And in Samulnori, pretty much everybody watches each other, and the Samulnori sometimes gives different rhythmic variants, and then people know when to move to different rhythm patterns and things like that. The hourglass-shaped drum is called jangu. Left side is made out of cowhide, and right side leather is made out of horsehide. And they use two different mallet and stick. Left side is kind of mallet-shaped beater to play the lower pitched side, and the right side is held by the bamboo stick. And probably you noticed that the very left side of this person is Kim Dok-soo, the founder of Samulnori. And everybody else, his left hand is up, but he's holding the right hand, holding the mallet. He is not a left-handed person, he's a right-handed person. And I read from his book saying that when he was little, he learned jangu rhythm by watching his father or other performers playing music. So since he was little, he was watching it, just observing it, and then just by watching it, he just learned it in mirror image. And then it became his habit to play that, right? And so he's grown up with listening to his music, so it becomes so natural for him. And his first debut was when he won the President's Prize for the Jeongguk Nongakyeong and their heritage jangu. He was only age 7, so he's born with it, and he was successful with it, and probably he will play jangu until he dies. And book instrument is probably the most oldest form of the instruments used in not only Korean music but also other cultures can find. Other cultures have this kind of instruments available, and it's made of cowhide. And traditional way of playing is using just one stick. And but later in 1990s, people come up with different way of playing it. Of course, just not playing sideways, but kind of laying down this way and using two sticks. And this is not a newer technique at all. Actually, in the court music, when you see those dance using drums, they put the drums in the middle. They are not really showing that they are skilled to play it, but actually the way how they play is just putting down to play. And also in the Buddhist temple, when you see Pungmul or Bokgomu, they use two sticks to play. And a lot of modern book players use the same technique to play these instruments. When you compare village good and Samulnori, there's a simple comparison. Village good is performed standing. It has dance movement and different formations, and it uses repetition and alternation of kara. Kara means melodic patterns or rhythmic patterns. There's no limit on performance time, and typically they play for 4 to 6 hours. But sometimes when during the harvest, if they have really good harvest, all the farmers go out and play all day long or several days. And they have actors, and it was called the chopstick. And typically you will see the hunter role, or scholar, nobleman, yangban role, or beggar, or drunk person, or monk, female monk. But those roles, a long time ago, they had roles. They had a kind of a speech part to ridicule the society during that time. But those roles have been all lost, and so they are more symbolic figures now in the current Noah or Pungmul group performances. And it had flexible memberships because the village people themselves were the performers. And Samulnori is seated performance. They have no dance movement, no formation, but their music is organized from slow to fast tempo and soft to loud rhythmic patterns. Typically, one piece lasts for 10 minutes or 15 minutes long, and there are no actors. And a lot of times you will see Samulnori performance group as a professional ensemble groups, and they have fixed memberships. And they emphasize balance between yang or yin-yang theory and tension and relaxation, which means that their music started with a slow tempo and then build up toward the really fast, and the tension, you can feel the tension, and then it has to be always released by different tempo or different technique. So they emphasize the balance between those two areas. And standard repertoire of Samulnori group include Binari, Samdo Sorjangu, Samdo Noa, and Pangul. Binari part is focused on ritual, the blessing part. Usually it's done at the beginning of a concert, then from the back of audience, kind of remnants of Moongud or gate or Sumunjagud, and also it's kind of remnants of the Jishinbarki or blessing part. And Samdo Sorjangu focuses on the musical sound. It's played by seated, and it's a reorganization of 3 provinces, Changgukara. And 3 provinces include from Honam area, Gyeonggi area, and Gyeongsang area. So originally they all had separated rhythm patterns, but they combined together, and all the performers played exactly the same rhythm on Changu. And the original order was based on Daserum, Himori, Dongsalkuri, Kukuri, and Dongdokgung. But the Samulnori version is Daserum, which is very slow tempo. It's a more like meditation of yourself while you're playing. It's kind of warm up. And Kukuri is based on 12 beats, but rather slow. And Dongdokgung gets a little faster, and Dongsalkuri gets even faster with 2 or 4 beat pattern. And Himori ends with the 2 beat pattern and finish up with a really fast tempo. And third repertoire, Samdo Noa, it's focused on musical sound seated. Earlier version had Yeongnam Noa, Uttari Pungmul, and Honam Udogud as separate pieces. So they came up when they started the Samulnori genre in 1978. They first come up with the Uttari Pungmul and then showed the Yeongnam Noa. Later, as time goes by, they combined all 3 pieces together. So current version of Samulnori's Samdo Noa include Honam, starting with the Honam Udogud and move to Yeongnam Noa part, and usually they use Dongari part only, and then they finish with the Uttari Pungmul, Jaksegara. But a lot of amateur performing groups, they still perform Yeongnam Noa, Uttari Pungmul, Udogud, all separate as all separate pieces. And the Samulnori typically finishes their stage with Pangul. Pangul is more focused on play. It's no different from olden times of Pyeongak or Pungmul group performance. They stand and dance, and they use special hat called the sangmo. And here are some examples of the typical formation or standard formation of a Samulnori performance. They start with Binari, same occasion, blessing. They sing little songs or give chanting to bless the audience and the place. And then they sit on the stage to play Samdo Sorjangu Kara, and then include all 4 different instruments, Buk, Changu, Dongari, and Jin to play Samdo Noa, 3 provinces. And then ends up with Pangul. So there is a formation, and also there is a dancing part, but there's no actor in Samulnori Pangul. And the hat they use has sometimes it's called a jeonlip. So Lik means the military head. So a lot of people say that the music actually comes from the military music. And during the Korea period, those percussion music was used as marching band music. And a lot of the formation name itself actually uses military drills. So people find some origins from military music. But anyway, there are different kinds of hats, and with big ribbon, that's called the 최상모. And 북보상모 is with this big flower-looking feather hat, and usually it's worn by the Dongari players. And this person is doing some kind of acrobatic motion. That's called the Jiki. And that person is having kind of a handheld drum called the sogo. The actually sogo itself doesn't produce much musical sound, but keep the beat and they do the dance, and the players all together do the same motion, and then they do the acrobatic action. It's also known as a Punmul, and nobody knows whether Pukmul comes from Pukko or it has different names. So in Korean music, a lot of terms comes from kind of a military or everyday life or rituals. So even though it's the same thing, it comes with many different names also. And literally, chaban dijiki means flipping salted dried fish. And I guess that comes from the everyday life. And when you preserve fresh fish, what do? You dry it and put the salt to preserve it. And one side is covered with the salt. You gotta flip it, right? So people say that actually that chaban comes from that. And Pangkut always kind of ends with Yorduba Sangmo, and that big rib, that big strip is actually almost 60 feet long. So while they're dancing, they twirl around their head and try not to trip over it, and then also they do the acrobatic action. It's quite amazing. And typically Samulnori concert or Pangkut concert ends with Jipuri. Long time ago, village people were participants of the Pangkut itself. So they all played together, but now pretty much the performance and audience roles are separated. So typically the performers play first, and then at the end they invite audience to come along to play with them. So they have a little Jipuri at the end. And not only Samulnori tried to preserve the Korean percussion music, but other professional performing groups, they formed different Samulnori groups or different percussion band, and continue to preserve and perform Korean traditional music. And this is an example of a Samulnori group at the National Center for Korean Traditional Performing Arts. And Samulnori originally started with the 4 different instruments, but now a lot of groups adding more elements, more traditional elements into their performance. So in this case, using the taepyeongso, and the taepyeongso is a kind of it's a wind instrument, and although it's the same instrument, it has a lot of different names. When it's used in court music, it's called the taepyeongso. When it's used in folk music, it's called hojok, senak or nalari. It has different names. And not only they use the taepyeongso into their performance, but also they try to bring out different instruments as well. And my affiliation to Seoul, they try to include more Nordic culture into their music. And the photo you see here is called the tego. It's big drums, and sometimes they put small drums into different form, and they dance. Actually, they play and dance 5 drums at the same time, and that's called the ogomu. Ogomu, a lot of playing techniques comes from the female monk dance, and sometimes it's known as ecstasy dance. And in this case, you will see those sticks and poles with the little bird on top. That's an indication of a long time ago. It's called sote. It's high, tall tree branches or poles. They put the little carving of a wooden duck, and the duck is considered as a sacred bird. So their story, they try to bring out more kind of Nordic culture into their performance. And sometimes they actually, after the performance, when they do the deepuri, they come out to the audience, or if it's outside the performance, they go out and just people gather together and having fun with them. And pretty much wherever you go to, you will see Korean percussion band performing, especially at the festival. And this is an example from the Yongin Folk Village. And we went to Cheongdo Bullfighting Festival to see Yangju Somori Gupe. Yangju Somori Gupe is designated as one of the Korean intangible cultural heritage. So in that event, you will see any festivals you go to, you will see this percussion music band perform. And other professional group, and this group is actually the entertainment group Hwangdae is consisting of people who graduated from the University of Korean Performing Arts. So they emphasize the Korean traditional percussion music as well as they study Korean mass dance drama. So they incorporate those what they've learned on stage, and they invite audience to do the plate spinning things, and so they they composed new pieces called kind of musical style, but using the traditional folk legend and folk tales into their compositions. Another professional performing art group, and this is rather very large scale of performing group. It's a Gyeong-ok dance company doing Noma Wu using all the elements that was used in Noma in much bigger scale. And Kim Jae-noa is also Pungmul. Kim Jae-noa is from North Jeolla province. It's not designated as a government level, but it is their province level designated cultural intangible asset. And Gochang-noa is also from North Jeolla province. And the person inside, in the middle of there, it's kind of wearing as a hunter, and it's known. It's called the posu. And a long time ago, again, the posu role was very important as one of the Chapsek, the actor, and he was as important as the Samsech role, but now it's more symbolic function. The only professional groups perform? No, lots of amateur performing groups. And these harmonies and harabojis, the early 80s, 70s, they learn Korean percussion music and the Samulnori or Soojin pieces. And I took this photo at Guro Senior Welfare Center during their presentation. But not only Guro area, but also pretty much each district you go to, you will see Senior Welfare Center or Community Center. And any community center, they offer either free or nominal fee of Korean percussion music classes. And sometimes I just was heading to a different library in different city, and I could hear the drumming sound coming from one community center. I go there, and many people sit there and play, and they always perform kind of as a concert to give them a kind of achievement, a feeling, and also showing what they've studied with their family and community people. And in Cheongwon Daeborum, actually I found one Jishimbagi group in Oryodong in Seoul. And it was a fundraising event, and these guys are just community people from Oryodong area, and they started this Jishimbagi during the President Park's regime under the Seoul Undong, New Village movement. And at that time, there was no apartment complexes at all, so they were actually going from house to house to give the blessings, but now pretty much everything's tall apartment complexes. So they now more focus on visiting the event, visiting the businesses to, bless their business and wishing for a good year to come. And they raise funds. And on that particular day, they performed from 9 to 6 o'clock, and they collected almost $5,000 just one day. And people are very generous. And with that fund, they help poor people in the Christmas time and at the end of the year, and then deliver charcoal, the yangtan, to poor people. And also, they use that money to sanitize that area during the summertime after rainy season. This harabaji, he's 85 years old. And I asked him how long he's been doing this, and he couldn't even remember when he started doing it. But every year, 정월 대보름, the January 15th by lunar calendar, he goes out and plays with the village people. And lots of elementary school teachers, not necessarily they are music teachers, but they are elementary classroom teachers. They gather together because it's fun. They learn music and they give performances to share what they've learned with their students. And also, by their students, by attending those concerts, they were encouraged by learning about Korean traditional music. So a lot of them are involved in Korean traditional music. And I went to one Pungmul competition at Midong Elementary School in Seoul last year. So a lot of elementary school children participated in this competition. And in that day, there were about 12 teams came. And the way how they performed was as great as other professional adult groups. I was really, really impressed. And each school varies by the numbers and the instruments they play, but mostly they play Samulnori or modern book. And modern book is, again, it's an assortment of different size drums. Right now we have traditional drums of traditional books in the same size, but originally modern book came with 4 different sizes. The biggest one is almost the same size as timpani sound, and it produces much deeper sound and much more vibration and better sound, I can say. But always it's hectic to transport those drums. And Gaebong Elementary School children actually participated and got the first prize. And you can see that Yortuba somewhere at the end. And actually, Gaebong Elementary School children are here to show you give a little performance to you. And I've observed those children since last year, and every single morning they come to school at 7:30 or 7:40 to practice. The school starts at 9 o'clock. Those kids from 3rd grade to 5th grade, they come early to school to practice. They learn Korean music by rote instruction. And every day by practicing it, they kind of feel their they gain self-confidence, and they can concentrate on things, not only the drumming music, but also they can concentrate on other study subject areas. And also they are dedicated, and they feel that they are gaining physical strength, and most of all, they are very confident about themselves. And of course, the most important thing is they feel pride about knowing about Korean culture and Korean traditional music. And I talked with the teachers, students, administrators, and parents. They all say that they are very proud. They are very proud of their students. And without any one component, teacher, student, administrator, and parents cannot be successful. And what I want to do after this research project, when I go back to the United States, I would like to duplicate the Gaebong Elementary School's program into the U.S. system. And the interest is there. As I mentioned earlier, on our campus we have 3 percussion groups, and we go out to perform at the public schools. Especially during the diversity month, we are very busy, and usually we perform like 30 times per year to go to visiting different public schools. And whenever we give performance or a little demonstration, all the audience responses from public school, they are just great. And teachers are willing to learn about it, just don't know how to do it. I can give little workshop, but I haven't been able to produce actual module or tools for them. So I want to create tools for music teachers, current teachers, and future teachers in the United States, and provide workshops and implementing similar kind of programs in the United States. And I would like to conclude my presentation with the performance and demonstration with the members of Pungmul Dongari from Gaebong Elementary School from Seoul. The director, she's here. Her name is Lee Gyeong-ok, and assistant director, I'm Ji-hyeon, coach Song Sang-in, and I wish we could bring all the members. There are about 25 members. But here we have 6 people on behalf. They include Shim Ji-min, Han Ju-hyung, Kim Young-dae, Kim So-eun, Lee Seong-soo, and Lee Ji-hyeon. Please welcome her.